Welcome to our new public affairs talk show, Morgantown Today. I'm your host, Megan Scarano.
And I'm Megan Guerra. During this show, we'll bring you a behind-the-scenes look at the issues that matter most to you, our viewer.
We will also interview those policymakers, politicians, and community leaders who impact and influence those decisions made right here in Morgantown.
The topic we'll be discussing today are the roads in Morgantown. We'll cover everything from paving to preparing for the upcoming winter season. Joining us now in Studio B from the WVU Reed College of Media Innovation Center is Alex Stockdale. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Alex is the Public Works Director for the City of Morgantown. In her position, she repairs city streets, maintains and upgrades city buildings, and plans projects for the public.
Before we get started, let's give some background information on some of the roads in town. The City of Morgantown maintains nearly 100 miles of streets, which includes neighborhoods, main roads, and back roads. And with 30,000 residents living in town, we see a lot of wear and tear on the roads on an everyday basis. And sometimes of the year, we see a lot more potholes on the road than others, which leads to frustration from drivers on their commutes and how it can affect their vehicles. And with the winter season coming up, we have a lot of questions on what we can expect from the city's roads when the weather gets a little bad.
Now, Alex, to start us off, the City of Morgantown only is responsible for about 100 miles of roadway. How can residents tell when it's a Morgantown City road or a division of highways?
We have a streets list available on our website that can help direct you of which streets are maintained and operated by who. Or you can always call the city or email anybody available. We'll be happy to help you.
Definitely. So if it's a Morgantown road that somebody is calling about, what's your procedure in taking care of that issue?
Usually if it's a Morgantown road, first one of our supervisors goes out and does a site visit, and then we try to figure out how much time it's going to take us to do the repair and is it the right time of year to do the repair. Sometimes parts of the year we can't get fresh asphalt. Like right now, nobody's making asphalt, so we have to rely on cold patch, which is just a temporary fix.
Can you tell us what road, maybe some common roads that Morgantown residents drive on all the time that are the City of Morgantown's versus what aren't?
Yeah, some really common roads that you drive on every day. University Avenues, most of it's operated and maintained by the City of Morgantown, whereas Pattison Drive and Beechhurst are maintained by the state. So another rule of thumb is if you're going 25 miles per hour, there's a good chance it's a city street, whereas if you're going upwards of 25 miles per hour, it's not.
Okay, that's interesting.
That is a good rule of thumb for our viewers. Now, how do you decide on the City of Morgantown streets which issues are more important to take care of?
In general, even if it's not a city street, we'll take care of something that's immediate danger. So if there's a grate or a manhole cover that's flipped over or something that could really hurt someone, we'll go ahead and dispatch people to take care of it right away. If it's a longer range goal of this whole street needs completely restored, then that takes a lot of budget and that takes a lot of planning. So
Definitely. So if there, is a major pothole in the road and somebody's car gets damaged, I know we sort of did a little bit of research and we kind of saw that you can get reimbursed is it by the city or is it by the state?
Well, generally the large problems are on the state routes, and so you can file a claim with the DOH, but most of the claims filed with the city would go to our city insurance, and so there's the potential to get reimbursed, but I wouldn't say it's commonplace for the city streets.
How long do you see when a plan gets started, when you need to repave a road, and then how long until residents actually see it happening and completion?
North Street widening, we started surveying that project in 2018. We still haven't started construction on that. So sometimes it's upwards of 2.5 years. And then our longer range goals, for example, University Avenue streetscape, that's going to be probably a 10-year goal. So, and then sometimes, for example, Karen Lane, we're going to reconstruct that, and we've known about that for 3 years.
How do you decide when, which issues will get done in the summer based on what can get done sooner?
For us, it's all about traffic flow and the amount of vehicles we're going to inconvenience. So if we have 20,000 cars that hit University Avenue in a day, in a typical school day when WVU is in session, we're going to avoid any projects on that street. Whereas if we have a neighborhood route that you might only see 2,000 cars a day, we can do that any time of the year.
Going on to a different subject, can you give our viewers some information on the Safe Streets and Community Fee?
Yeah, so the $3 fee, which is what a lot of people call it, it goes into helping us have a healthy budget for streets repair and safety for the community. About, I think it's 80% of my budget comes from the Safe Streets, and that's like 825,000, I think. And what I use that for is payroll, equipment, materials. It pretty much buys everything that we do. It's been a huge improvement. The old city paving budget was 250,000 for the whole year. Now we spend 2 million. So we can do a massive amount more than we used to be able to. And it's really been a great thing for the city. And also for morale, it's really hard as an employee to know that you can't do as much as you want to do. Now the sky is the limit, and we can really do everything that we have on the list. And the wonderful thing about it is that whereas before we could only pave and fix potholes, now we can do large scale pedestrian projects and bike projects, which is important, and it's impacting a town where, 40% of our people are walking to and from work or to and from school.
I know I've seen a lot of bikers in like the Woodburn neighborhood, and I just get so scared for them because it's such a thin road that they have, the little area.
Yeah. So when we put in that bike lane, it was kind of a practice, because that was the first one that we've put in.
Oh, okay.
And we wanted to see if people use it a lot and if we should try to expand the infrastructure there. Also, something to keep in mind about the 25 miles per hour is it's actually fairly safe to ride in conjunction with cars on the road at 25 miles per hour. Whereas when you get to those higher speeds, we recommend that you have a separate facility.
So going on this bike topic, are you guys planning on doing bike lanes throughout the city?
Yeah, we have a lot of bike lanes. The topography of Morgantown, we actually have to have climbing lanes because that's usually when you go slower. Whereas if you're going downhill, you can have sharrows, which the bikes can go just as fast as the cars. So the bikes going downhill in Morgantown, for example, you've seen the bike sharrows, they're called. They're like a little bike person with arrows. Those on University Avenue, they're actually in the center of the lane because we expect bikers to be able to go 25 miles per hour. Whereas on University Avenue, coming uphill past Pizza Owls and McDonald's, that we have to get bikers to the right side lane because they have to go slow as they're climbing the hill.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're definitely not going to go as fast as a car going up that hill.
I am excited to see what the e-bikes bring to Morgantown because it provides an e-assist, a pedal assist, and I think it's going to really expand the capacity for normal people to bike to and from campuses.
Yeah, then anyone can bike, not you don't have to be an athlete
Can
to
you
bit around town.
The e-bike? I don't know what that is. So.
Yeah, so the e-bike is basically like a battery-powered e-assist bike. It helps you get up a hill. It can go 25 miles per hour even up a hill. I actually am hoping to get one this summer to try out. Sometimes the local bike groups will lease us a new technology to try out. So they lease the police department an e-bike, and I'm hoping they're going to lease the engineering and public works department a bike to try out. Because it really helps me when I'm trying to design a new project. It's hard to put yourself in those shoes until you actually do it, Yeah.
Can you explain what it takes for you to design a whole project? Give people some insight into that part of the job.
So first, the very first point is I talk to my colleagues in the department, in the engineering department and the public works department, and I say, what do you think about this? And then they say, we kind of go to the drawing board, and then we take it to our boards and commissions. And so we have a bike board and a pedestrian board, and then we have traffic commission. And when we have a really big idea or a new idea, we have to take it also to the neighborhood associations, because we don't want to just spend public money without public input and public opinion. So after those three things are done, we get to the nitty-gritty of how we're going to do the construction. A lot of times we have to sub out the engineering to a consultant because the projects are a little outside of our realm, or they involve a lot of surveying or grading. And then we actually bid the construction and oversee the construction.
It's interesting you bring up a pedestrian point of view, because recently there has been a lot of pedestrians being hit or even killed here in Morgantown. And how can maybe where you come from the design standpoint, help keep our pedestrians safer or safe?
I think the first thing that we should really consider is when we're designing a roadway or a highway, we need to consider, even if you don't see somebody walking or you're not visualizing it, people are using those routes. Their car breaks down, they have to walk, like, even if it's not their main mode of transportation. So I think providing facilities, even if people aren't necessarily using them right now, designing facilities for the future.
So what are some, projects that you guys are working on right now, besides for the bike?
Well, I brought up North Street. We're going to do a large-scale widening project on North Street, and that's kind of mainly to get people safely from downtown and, like our Wiles Hill and Sunnyside area to the stadium safely. So right now, when they're trying to cross from University Avenue to Willowdale, there's not a safe route. You have to go either through the neighborhood or you're trying to cross in the ditch down North Street. So we're trying to provide a safer route for people to get from point A to point B.
So what would that consist of? Like an elevated walking area, or?
Pretty much we're going to try to do a sidewalk the whole way and then wrap the sidewalk all the way down North Street to Willowdale.
Okay.
Some of it is going to involve retaining walls and probably a little bit of an elevated sidewalk.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be good for football season. So would it be, do you expect to have that done by the upcoming football season, or what do you think?
I would say we will go to construction this next summer, 2020. Whether it'll be done by then or not, I'd say we'll be close. Well, a lot of us also have kids in the engineering department, and so we're trying to not only design for pedestrians or bikes, but for strollers and for people that are maybe disabled or don't have an easy way to get from point A to point B. So
we're gonna kind of switch gears now. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the upcoming winter season and what you guys are planning for in your department. How are you guys kind of preparing for the snow and the ice and all the slush, everything that's gonna happen soon?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to make sure that all of the vehicles are properly maintained. We have new tires in all the vehicles. We've gone through the snow plows and made sure that they're working properly. The blades are in good shape. And then the next thing is to make sure that all of our people understand the staffing. So we have to make sure that we're going to have the right people on call and that we've got all the shifts staffed. And then the third part of the equation is to make sure that we have all the materials. So we have to have salt on hand and make sure all of our spreaders are working.
How much salt do you have for the winter season?
Right now we have about 3,000 pounds of salt, which is about $99,000 worth of salt.
Is that average?
Yeah.
That's a typical stockpile for a municipality. Most people will use about 1,000 pounds through the winter on a typical winter, but some winters you don't know what's going to happen, and so you'd rather have more on hand than less, because when you need it, everybody needs it and you can't get it.
Right.
So
is that salt laid down sometimes before snow's coming, or during or after?
all of the above. Yeah. Yeah, so usually the salt's mixed with a little bit of sand to help with traction. And the salt is laid down all sorts of conditions.
So in terms of plowing, once we get a big snow, do you guys sort of wait until, the snow stops to start plowing, or do you guys sort of go throughout?
As soon as I see little snowflakes on my phone, or the supervisors see snowflakes on their phone, we start getting plows out. So if there's just going to be a dusting, we might only have 2 plows out. But if we're going to have a large snow, 6 inches, we start as soon as we can, and we go as long as we can with the plowing. And we'll have all 10 plows out. So what that means for us is that we can potentially have a full crew of 20 to 40 people working together.
Where do those plows go first?
Our plows usually they hit the main routes. Again, we go by traffic volume. So we try to hit the streets with the highest traffic volume, the streets that we think that are going to impact traffic. Where's traffic going to back up the worst? For example, University Avenue. We'll hit University Avenue right away. And then we'll kind of work our way around the neighborhoods and make sure that we can get people out of their neighborhoods and onto the streets.
Do you guys ever touch the roads that aren't your, jurisdiction, I guess?
I think I'm supposed to answer no to that. And I'd like to answer no to that. But I mean, the truth of the matter is it doesn't make sense to pick up your plow to cross the street. And so, yeah, we do. And especially if we get a large snow and the highways are completely full of snow, the DOH needs to answer those first. So we will dispatch anywhere we need to go.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good to know, definitely.
What about those people that maybe live on those back roads in Morgantown? We know we live in West Virginia, those back road winters. How long would it take for those snow plows to get to them?
I think a safe guess is 24 hours in some of the worst areas and depending on the snowfall. But I mean, depending if it's only an inch or a dusting, I would say probably 8 to 10 hours.
So I feel like I saw that we're expected to have like a pretty like heavy winter this year. So what are you guys kind of doing on on your department to kind of get ready and stay on top of it?
Yeah, I was actually talking to one of the street superintendents this morning, and I said, "So are we going to throw all 10 plows out, or what's the plan?" And he's like, "Well, I don't see why not." So we're going to try to go as hard as we can, as quickly as we can, and make sure that we're really trying to address the problem head on and not waiting or not. And we're going to staff up even if we're not 100% sure if we're going to get snow. So those are a few things that we're doing. I mean, it's all weather dependent and forecast dependent. If we don't know a snow's coming and it hits us and we're kind of caught by surprise, we try to dispatch people out from their houses as soon as possible.
Is 10 plows enough for the city of Morgantown? Have you seen that is the right amount? Or do we need more?
I think that we can always have more equipment out. We could probably have some broom trucks and other pieces of equipment. But for the streets, the size that they are, they can't handle too many plows or too much equipment. We would clog things up.
So sort of switching gears again, we're going to sort of talk about like drivers in the snow and stuff like that. So what are some of your biggest conflicts that you've seen firsthand, seeing like just the average driver on the road in the winter weather?
I think that the average driver is trying to do the best that they can, but maybe they don't have a lot of skills, or maybe they're from a place that they didn't have snow or nobody's shown them what to do. So I would encourage people to try to do your research, do your homework, get out in a parking lot and practice a little bit if this is your first year in the snow. Hills are a big thing. If you're going to hit a hill, go to first gear and go slow. And if you think that you can't drive in the snow, or if you're worried about it, just stay off the roads. You might not be able to stay home, but we have alternate ways of transportation. You could walk, you can ride the bus.
I wish everybody knew that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just stay home. If there's like snow in the forecast, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't trust my car. I don't trust myself.
No. Sometimes it's just like too dangerous. So while people might not like to drive in the snow, and you're only used to dealing with maybe 25,000 residents in the summer months, but a long time year round, there's over 60,000+ people here. How are you keeping up with that? Because Morgantown is being voted the top 100 cities to live in America. So how does that change your job?
I think the biggest way that we have to change is we have to keep meeting the demands that the budget needs, and that we're planning for the future, because these property acquisitions that we need to be worried about, these are long range goals and these are long-term goals. And so right now the DOH has been putting in a lot of roundabouts, which has helped traffic flow a lot. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to team up with them a lot, and we're trying to better the routes to meet their new routes. And we're working with the MMMPO, the Mon County Metropolitan Planning Committee, and they worked with a few consultants, and they really identified our growth areas and how we're going to address that. So I'm pretty excited for some of the projects that are going to be coming up, and I'm really excited to get the experience, and some of the top engineers in the country are going to be coming to Morgantown to work here, and some of the top contractors in the country. So you get to see some pretty interesting projects when you have bridges and H-pile walls and slip repairs, and it's every day's a new day. And so I'm excited to see what the future will hold.
Definitely. And I mean, Morgantown's growing by the day. So what do you guys plan to do for like these small, little one lane on each side roads, like University Avenue? Like, are you guys gonna kind of like make that grow to, fit with the growing population in the city?
So what a lot of people don't know is that our right-of-ways, although we may only be using 20 to 30 feet of the right-of-way, we actually, in most areas, we have up to a 60-foot right-of-way in some spaces, especially the DOH, they have large right-of-ways. So what we're planning for the future is to really maximize the use of the right-of-way. And whether that's, kind of take a sidewalk from both sides and make only one on a side, or narrow our lanes. That's how we worked in the bike lane on Richwood.
Mm-hmm.
We actually took the driving lane from 11 feet down to 9, and then we added a 4-foot bike lane. So that was an interesting way. They're called lane diets. There's some really innovative engineering solutions that are coming around in the country, and a lot of what we look at are actually places abroad. So the United States is kind of behind the times when it comes to transportation, and so we get a lot of good examples from Europe.
Interesting. I didn't know
I
that.
mean, like, yeah, that's really cool. You're just like sort of making it like a puzzle.
Mhm.
You know, it's still the same thing, but you're kind of fixing it so that,
Right.
more things can be in there.
Mhm.
So with that $3 fee that we were talking about earlier, and with our growing population, how do you really see that, helping our roads and, infrastructure kind of like go toward the future?
I think the $3 fee is helping to supplement a lot of the city's budget and allowing us to dedicate funds solely for improving transportation. Whereas we used to be kind of sharing money between the departments and between the different projects with the police and the fire and the roads and the payroll. So now we're really able to dedicate and focus on improving and doing huge capital improvement projects. And where some of the ideas were hopes and dreams, now they're reality. And we've got the opportunity to really take something futuristic and bring it to the present.
Awesome, yeah.
And I think people will be happy to hear that.
That's it for this edition of Morgantown Today. I'd like to thank our guest, Alex Stockdale, for joining us today and giving us a lot of information on the roads and all the future projects coming up in Morgantown. I'm your host, Megan Guerra.
And I'm your host, Megan Scrano. This public affairs show is made possible through a partnership between the WVU Reed College of Media Innovation Center and the City of Morgantown. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.